Hey there. Hey there. How you doing, everyone? Welcome in, crowded booth. Let's just go ahead and run the thing. Go ahead and run the thing. Had no idea we were going live. Go.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The crowded booth with Bryce Koon.
Welcome in, everyone, to the show, and I just want to start it over at this point. Welcome in.
I told you it was
Bryce
going to be
Koon,
off
Will
the
Manning.
rails.
Yeah. This
Jonesy was
is not gonna be
first, but I can't show his comment. So
good. That's okay. I'm still ticked off from Monday night. We had to talk about Iowa, so that's what we're rolling with here.
guess what we're going to talk about tonight?
I will leave the show if we talk about
Iowa State.
Like, I'll straight up leave the show if we talk about Iowa. Hey, welcome in. Bryce Koon, Will Manning, Ralph Leary. Appreciate you so much for tuning in here on the Crowded Booth, whether it's Facebook, or what did I just say? Whether it's Facebook or Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or X, or whatever they call it now. Appreciate you tuning in live as we take a look at week number 8. And this is a week that typically has guys some really good rivalries. We know it's the kind of the third Saturday in October. We're going to talk about Alabama, Tennessee, talk about some SEC games, but then obviously that noon kickoff, Penn State against Ohio State, is a big one. It's a big one. These two guys hate noon kickoffs.
These travesty.
I like noon kickoffs.
It's your job, so you're not as much of a fan. So like an LSU noon kickoff, you love. So if Auburn LSU was at noon, you'd have loved it.
No, I would say this. I like this one because I actually get to watch this game. LSU Army is a night game this year, so it's 7:30, I think, Eastern. So what we'll do is I'll get to sit and watch the entire game. It'll be a lot of fun. That's fine. Before we kind of get started, that's tomorrow night, Jonesy. That's going to be a ton of fun. Absolutely a ton of fun. Before we get started, we do 3 segments on Wednesday's show where we take a look at preview around 3 to 4 games. Then we go into our games that we're just interested to kind of keep tabs on, and then we go into our best bets. Dr. Bob does a great job compiling those best bets. Shout out to him. This week was rough for all of us, so no movement in the leaderboard. What I do need is we do need to get a graphic. So this is a call to action because neither of these two guys really. I'm not definitely not asking Will to do a graphic because Will can barely plug his microphone in.
Look,
I could probably figure it out. Give me about 2 hours.
This is like deep, early crowded booth days. If you want to go see my graphics skills, I made graphics for a podcast, Bryce, and I did, and they were awful.
Do you remember, Will, when you did the Kirby Smart to Mark Richt comparison, and it was on PowerPoint?
It was a PowerPoint. That's what.
God help! God, get out of here. Let's. If you want to go buy a new house, go opposite of their best bets. Yeah, just fade us because that's where we're rolling. Rock whatever we don't do. Hey, let's talk about this. Let's roll into. In all seriousness, if someone wants to design a graphic, that'd be absolutely fantastic. We do need that. That being said, let's roll into game number 1. Penn State and Ohio State. This is going to be a big matchup. Will, when we talked about our top 4s, and all 3 of us talked about our top 4s on Monday night, it was one of those things where we kind of sat here and said, look, some type of movement's going to happen this weekend when you get these 2 Big Ten teams clashing. The opportunity for a 3-way tie in the Big Ten, the West, is still available. This is the West, right?
East.
Is this the Big Ten West or the East? Big Ten East. Whatever it is. I have no clue. Just this one right here. Penn State, Ohio State. Ohio State has seemingly kind of figured out some of their quarterback, conversations. Penn State has a really talented young quarterback. They've got a solid defense. So, Will, I'll throw it to you. Kind of what are you watching out for this game? And then ultimately, where are you leaning as these 2 teams face off?
I think your big question mark here is how does Drew Aller play on the road in what's probably the most hostile environment he's played in his young career. I think Drew Aller is a better quarterback than Kyle McCord. We'll get to Iowa later. I think how does Drew Aller react? Because the horseshoe is going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. Do they get Michigan at home this year? I don't have their schedule pulled up. I don't know if Ohio State gets Michigan this year. This is either the biggest home game for Ohio State this year or the second, depending on that Michigan game. But how does
at Michigan?
So this is the biggest home game of the year for Ohio State. So they're going to be ready to go. Early kick, they'll be ready to go, no doubt about it. Ohio State, you mentioned it. They've kind of answered some questions. I think they know who they are now offensively. They're not a high-powered fling it around for 4 quarters like they were with C.J. Stroud a year ago. Kyle McCord is just not that quarterback right now in his development. Although he threw it great against Purdue, but that's Purdue. This Penn State defense does not even compare to this Penn State a lot. But I think Ohio State at home, I think they're going to be able to pull it out close, very close.
Well, I'm glad we can't use that for Instagram because Will absolutely looks like that he is being filmed on a VHS tape right now. I mean, just a Nokia happening. I don't know what was going on, Will. Can you hear us?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can.
You
can. Okay.
Half a second, dude. Okay.
Yeah, I almost interrupted you, so we got the audio. That's fine. That's fine. No, I like where you lie there. And Dr. Bob has a really good point here, Ralph, if you want to throw that comment up. 2 coaches that sometimes can tend to overcoach in situations, get maybe a little too involved. So I think that's also a really, really nice battle to watch. Ralph, big time matchup. No doubt about it. Look, this is a Penn State team that started out with probably a better than it looked at now. Well, how should I say this? Better now than it looked then win against West Virginia. Back early in the season, people were like, oh, yeah, whatever. Now, West Virginia's a pretty solid team. So, that being said, Ralph, Penn State, they've kind of got a nice little win, but this would be the marquee win they need to kind of catapult themselves into that playoff race.
Yeah, I agree with Will, though. Drew Aller's a better quarterback than Kyle McCord, but the thing is with Ohio State right now, this is a very good defense. This is not the same defense we're used to seeing from Ohio State. This is a very talented defense. So if Drew Aller wants to lead his team to victory here on the road, he's got to play his legit best game. There's no – you can't have mistakes here. Now, you had – what was it last year he was a freshman?
Just keep going.
Sorry.
God, Will. Last year, he was behind. I can't remember his name. Who was he behind last year?
The dude that had been there for like 17 years.
Oh yeah, him. Whatever his name was, the guy who beat Auburn.
Sean Clifford.
Yeah, there it is. He got a year under Clifford. He got to watch a lot happen last year. He was at the Auburn game. He watched a very loud stadium. Yeah, this is something he's probably prepared for. I mean, look, I know this is his first time starting in a hostile environment, but I think he's seen hostile now. He's gonna be great. I think he's got to be great. Their team they're good. They played well the past few weeks. That Northwestern game was kind of shaky at first. I think it was 13-13 at halftime, and they came out in the second half, and then they're just blowing them out the rest of the game. So, if Penn State wants to play, and be in the playoffs at the end of the season, they got to, you got to go through Ohio State, obviously, but you got to make it like you have to win this one. Like you actually have to. You can't lose and hope to God you beat Michigan later on the season. You need to win this one because if you lose this game and be a 1 loss, I don't think you make it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. With the way college football is shaping up, there's not a massive margin of error in the regular season right now with that 14 playoff and a lot of teams. Obviously, Florida State and the ACC, the Pac-12 playing like it has, the Big 12 with potentially Texas trying to play their way back into things, Oklahoma having that upper hand. So, obviously, a lot of things that you have to do in writing on this game. Here's the biggest thing for me. Penn State is a team that, while they're not flawless, they are a team that has played really balanced this season and done a good job of that. But defensively, this is where the key steps out for me. Ohio State has not faced a team defensively that, one, statistically has been able to do what they're doing. Number 1 in college football in sacks. Number 1 in tackles for loss. Number 1 in total defense. Number 2 in the country against the run. The defensive front is an absolute terror. But you also go back on the other side and I talk about the balance. I hope I get this guy's name right. Alu Fashanu is their offensive tackle. He is a guy that is, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams, he might be the number 1 pick in the draft. This is what, according to a lot of NFL draft boards. Ohio State's going to have to prove, and Kyle McCord's going to have to prove that he can go face, a defense that plays like this. So I don't know what the spread on this game was. It is a touchdown.
Ohio State -4.5.
-4.5. I feel like that's a tight spread. Enough. Yeah, that's a fair one. I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to say Penn State wins this. I love the defense up front, and I think they're going to really, really force Ohio State to beat them. Now, a couple weeks ago when I kind of went against the grain, it was one of those things that we said, look, certain things are going to happen. I think that Penn State has to start off fast offensively, and whether start off fast in general, get a quick score to start the game or force a quick 3 and out and kind of take that crowd out of it early in the game. So I'm going to roll. I think Drew Aller, I think the kid's really talented. And I think this is a game, and we've mentioned this a lot on the show, guys, this year. Certain games, like last week, Bo Nix or Michael Penix, here's an opportunity for you to prove yourself on the national stage. Here's Drew Aller's opportunity to prove himself on a national stage against a really formidable opponent that says, hey, I can lead this team and I can take Penn State potentially places they haven't been before, and that's a college football playoff berth that the folks this is not the whiteout game. Or no, I'm sorry. This is not, because they're playing this at Ohio State, but this a whiteout game last year? What was the game where that was? I guess that was Michigan. That was the Penn State Michigan game I'm thinking about with Shea Patterson. Anyways, Penn State, Ohio State, very, very good game. And I do agree with Dr. Bob's comment earlier, or Jonesy's comment. The game won't be as good as Washington, Oregon. I think that right now is game of the year so far, what we've been able to see. So let's rock and roll to the next game we have on the schedule here. Third Saturday in October. For a lot of people across the Southeast, this is a fun one. And last year, you talk about a game of the year, this one might have been it. For fans down where I'm from, it was, a little bit farther down the schedule when LSU played Alabama. That was their game of the year. But, two different teams in very different ways. Tennessee really has not been able to find consistent play out of Joe Milton, but we know what his potential upside is. Alabama, on the other hand, just finds a way to keep winning. So, Tennessee's going to walk in there, and I mentioned this on Monday's show. You don't often see a Nick Saban team that's looking for revenge and gets that team at home. I think that'd be a perfect stat to look at over the course of his tenure in Tuscaloosa. But how do you feel about this game and what could happen in Tuscaloosa on Saturday?
This is going to be an old school, physical, both teams just going to try to run at each other because neither of them throw the ball all that consistently. These teams, to me, they kind of stack up almost the exact same way. I mean, offensively, they're going to run the ball and they're going to throw it deep. On defense, both sides, they stop the run really well. So this is going to be, I think this game is going to come down to who's more disciplined, who takes care of the ball better, who holds on to it. I don't think we're going to see a lot of throws at all. I mean, Tennessee I think they're number one in the conference in the SEC in rushing defense after the Texas A&M game. They're top 3. I think both of these teams are top 3 in rush defense and probably total defense as well. I think it's going to be low scoring. The spread is Alabama -8.5. The revenge factor is big in this one. I think a lot of Alabama players returning from last year's loss in Knoxville. You said it. Alabama doesn't have too many games where they're trying to get revenge, and especially at home. I think Alabama, they're going to impose their will on Tennessee. Last year left a bad taste in their mouth, no doubt about it. And it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be if you're like me and like old school running football, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a game where you mentioned it's going to be old school. It's going to come down to defenses making those momentum shifting plays. Look, you talked about Tennessee's ability to run the football. I think that's something that Alabama has gotten so much better at over the course of the season, especially defensively, because this is an elite defense that Alabama has. The problem is they don't have a championship level offense. Let's just say right now, if you put LSU's offense and put them with Alabama's defense, there's your national title team right there. That's probably what you'd be seeing, holding up that god-awful trophy at the end of the season. Rest in peace, the Crystal Football. Will goes with Alabama. Ralph, can Tennessee pull off this upset in your opinion? What would it have to look like if they did?
Just a dominant run game. I mean, you really have to. You can't let all this weight be on Joe Milton's shoulders. If Milton has to throw the ball 50 times a game to help you win this game, it's not going to work because he just hasn't been consistent all year. He hasn't been the same guy. He hasn't been hitting the hooker like last year. Hitting the hooker last year led this team all year long. This was a very talented team last year. They had a great receiving crew. They just don't have those weapons like they did last year. Obviously, you get Squirrel. He's been terrific this year, but he can't do everything. He's not the I'm blanking on his receiver, the guy's name, the guy Jalen Hyatt. He's not Jalen Hyatt. Yeah. Jalen Hyatt last year blew Alabama out of the water last year. He had 5 touchdowns.
It was
I think.
something unbelievable. I mean,
It
he
was
was
but he had
all
like
over the
7
place.
catches, 5 touchdowns. It was incredible. It was incredible. I don't see that happen this year. I think Alabama does get the revenge, and when I say revenge, I mean it's because it was a long time coming. Alabama
Mhm.
won like what 17 years in a row
Something like
before
that. It was double-digit
before.
years.
Yeah, so and Tennessee took that personally. They wanted to win that game. I just don't see that same energy coming from Tennessee as I did last year. Um, I'm going to go with Alabama. I think Alabama covers this game. I think they're a 9-point favorite. I just think them being at home, their defense being so good. I just think if they force Hendon Hooker, or not, sorry, if they force Joe Milton to play and throw the ball a lot, it's going to be a bad night for Tennessee.
Hey, that's okay that you confused him because Nick Saban said earlier this week that Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton pretty much were the same quarterback. So that's completely fine. That's what he said at his Monday press conference. I'll roll with this. Tennessee is 5-0 this season when they run over 160 yards, and they are 14-0 in their last 14 games overall when they do that. So it ran for 182 on Bama last year. This season, since the start of 2022, they're 2-3 when they don't do that. All of these things that I'm saying here is I think Tennessee has a good offense. I think last year they were special in what they could do offensively. To beat this Alabama team, no, this is not the 2011 Alabama defense that had all those studs on it, but they're still really, really good. I think you got to be special. And I think Texas had a special night in Tuscaloosa earlier this year against that defense. I don't see Tennessee being able to have that special night. I still think this is a really good team. I think Josh Heupel's doing a lot of great things, but they just had that offense they had was nearly unguardable with what they could do last year. So I think this is going to be I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be, some momentum swings. I don't think Alabama's going to blow Tennessee out. I don't know if Alabama has the capability to blow a really, really good football team out this season with what they have on the roster. Maybe I'm wrong in that. We'll see. But
Alabama's getting Tennessee in a really good spot, coming off a big win at home. Tennessee having to go on the road in another big game, another big emotional game. Can they get off the mat again? I don't think they do.
Yeah, and then you go back to the Florida game for Tennessee. He wasn't necessarily the issue, but when you're the quarterback and you're obviously in an offense that depends so much on the quarterback playing the arm like Tennessee, if you're not the problem, you got to be the part of the solution. And he really wasn't. He didn't step up in that game. So I think Alabama wins this game. What's the spread on this one?
9.
9.
I've seen 8.5.
8.5, 9. ESPN has it at 9, so that's what I was going off of.
It's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I do think Alabama wins, though. I think Alabama wins a good one. Let's roll to the next game. And this one, obviously, staying in the SEC. Well, I just want you to know, Ralph changed the title. I had the Drama Bowl. No, it's fine. It's fine. The Drama Bowl.
That's accurate.
Featuring Ole Miss against Auburn. I think
accurate.
that the media attention that this game has gotten since it was announced that Hugh Freeze was going to be the head man, maybe even before that. Like if you take Hugh Freeze out of the equation, this was going to be a bunch of drama with Lane Kiffin and all of that.
Starting last November.
Yeah, starting with all of that. Then Hugh Freeze gets named the head coach, and it even goes up another notch. So, Will, I do like how Ralph worded this. Can the home crowd, because you said maybe you were a little emotional, but you told us on Saturday, on texting on Saturday, you said, look, they can't beat anybody away from home. They just can't do it. So is it real? Does Auburn have a chance because they're playing this game at home? And man, what do they do at quarterback?
Well, I tell you what, Vegas thinks so because A&M's only a touchdown favorite on the road. Vegas always knows something that the public doesn't know. I figured Texas A&M would be at least a 10-point favorite, or Texas A&M. Ole Miss would be a 10-point favorite coming to Auburn. But Auburn only a touchdown underdog. They know something. You mentioned quarterback play. I've kind of been back and forth on Peyton Thorne. I'm back off Peyton Thorne. I think it needs to be Robbie Ashford. This offense, they cannot throw the ball. Auburn offensively cannot throw the ball. I still don't know if Thorne's the problem or if the receivers are the problem. It's the easy way out's a combination of both, and I think that's true. I mean, you see what Auburn did last year after firing Brian Harsin and installing Cadillac as the head coach and Will Friend as the offensive coordinator. They simplified it. They just ran the ball. They ran the ball 30, 40 times right at teams, and they won games. They beat Texas A&M. So I think you got to get back to that. That's the strength of this team. It's the strength of the offensive line. I know it's a brand new look offensive line from last year, totally different names. But you look at how they grade out. They grade out really well running the ball. You've got to lean into that, and Hugh Freeze, this team, this roster is not what he wants. Obviously, he wants to be up tempo. He wants to go fast. He wants to run RPOs. He just doesn't have the players to do that. He doesn't have the depth to do that. We've seen against Texas A&M, against Georgia, not so much against LSU. That one kind of got out of hand early, but the depth really hurt. The lack of depth on defense really hurt Auburn in the second half. You got to slow down. You got to play ball control offensively. I think you got to run the ball. Robbie Ashford's such a weapon in the run game. I think he's got to get more snaps. The offense, you saw it against LSU. The Auburn offense looks worlds better with Robbie Ashford running it than Peyton Thorne did. So I think it's time to make that change at quarterback. I think that gives you the best chance to win. Certainly don't think Auburn's punting on the season. The AL.com columnist, every Auburn fan's favorite, Joe Goodman, wrote a column this week saying Lane Kiffin should be fired if Auburn wins this game. I don't think Ole Miss will do that. But he also said Auburn is the worst offense in the country. Statistically, I'm sure that's not true. He was hinting that Auburn is tanking this season. I don't think Hugh Freeze is doing that. I don't know why a college team would tank a season. But I just think Robbie Ashford gives Auburn the best chance to win. As far as picking this game, I don't know. Jordan-Hare Stadium is special. It's special. I hope that I'm there on Saturday. I'm planning on it to be part of that solution. Auburn plays well at home. I'm not going to pick the upset though. I think Auburn will keep it close, but again, I think the lack of depth that Auburn has is going to allow Ole Miss to pull away.
Great comment here from Dr. Bob. Ole Miss's weakness was up front. Tulane beat them up and held the run game in check. You're right. LSU obviously had success in that just basketball game that they played on grass that was just nuts in Oxford a couple weeks ago. Ralph, your thoughts on this before we kind of talk about a couple key points in this game. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. I mean, this is an offense that cooled off a little bit against Arkansas last week, but they can ramp it up anytime. And what I saw on the field was not necessarily this is a bad Auburn offense, but the Auburn offense, and Will might agree with me here, the Auburn defense looks worse because of the inability of the Auburn offense. It's not a bad Auburn defense, but when you're on the field for as many plays as you are against a good offense, man, nobody can be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw back to last year. Just a few things. Auburn ran the ball last year for 48 times for 301 yards. That was with Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, and Ashford being your main runners. And Ole Miss ran the ball 70 times for 448 yards with a three-headed monster of 130 from Quinshon Judkins, 136 from Zach Evans, and 115 from Jackson Dart. If you're going to win this game, you cannot let them run the ball all over you all night. I mean, Auburn's run defense is bottom tier of the SEC right now, and that's what's going to hurt them if they can't get those guys to slow down and not have a field day running the ball. You got to hope the guy you can force him force a fumble, make Judkins slow down. He can't have his day like he wants to have. He can't have the 200 or 150 plus yards he wants to have probably against Auburn. So if Auburn wins that game up front, like what Dr. Bob said about Tulane, if they win up front, this could be a long night for Ole Miss because they're forcing Jackson Dart to throw, which is still a hard thing to stop. But if you keep them one dimensional, you have a chance of beating them at home, and especially with this home crowd. Auburn's an insane home crowd, no matter who they're playing.
Yeah, no matter who they're playing or the record.
Well, I mean, last year was the best example. Best example last year's A&M is when they got rid of Harsin. They went on the road to Mississippi State. They lost. Was it overtime? I think
lost in overtime.
You saw a different team play that night, and then that Saturday night they played A&M at home. That place was rocking, and it didn't matter. No one cared about the record. Cadillac was coach. It was fun. You had chills watching that intro, and this team right here they play better at home. They always do. It feels, and I know a lot of people hate saying that. I know my dad probably would he hates saying that Auburn plays better at home because he would love to say they're a good team no matter where they play at. But they're
a better team at home.
Yeah,
they just are.
But use it as an advantage. You have to. If you're good at home, use that. So.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of the Auburn defense is in the secondary. So you got to make Ole Miss one-dimensional no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Their run game, I think, is a step down from last year, which I think part of that is on usage from Lane Kiffin. I've been saying for weeks, Ulysses Bentley needs more touches. He's starting to get them as the year goes along. If Auburn can stop the run and make them throw, Auburn's got a really good shot because that Auburn secondary is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pulled up the stats on this Auburn rushing attack, and it's crazy. LSU's 81st in the country in yards given up per game. Auburn is 85th. So LSU, Auburn, and Vanderbilt, they round out the bottom three. Auburn gives up an average 161.4 yards per game. I will say this about, I love that, Dr. Bob. I will say this about this game. The Jordan-Hare effect is going to be in full force here. This is a game that I don't want to say Auburn is reeling, but I think that
I don't think so.
I don't want to say that because I don't want it to come off like this. I just think that loss to LSU was a lot worse than a lot of people thought it would be. It just from a not a mentality, but just and not even effort based. I don't want to condemn in that sense. But Will, you could probably speak to us. It just wasn't great. Like it was just bad. It was a bad performance.
You come in after a week off and you get blanked 17-0 in the first quarter. What did you do for 2 weeks? How did you prepare? Whatever you prepared didn't work. And the Auburn sideline looked defeated for the bulk of that game. Even when the offense started to get going and got some points, which is what we thought we would see, they still just looked defeated. I mean, so
yeah, so I don't want to say an effort, but I think it was just a nightmare performance. Like it was the worst possible performance coming off the bye week. That being said, I'm going to echo exactly what I said last week on this show. If there's ever a game for the Auburn offensive passing attack to get going, it's going to be against this Ole Miss defense. Well, the Ole Miss pass defense has allowed 225 yards or more against every FBS team, and they're 110th in the nation in pass defense. Something's got to change. Like I don't know. That's my problem in this. I don't think Auburn wins this game because I just don't think they can pass the ball. I don't think they have receivers that can get separation. I don't think that they have a quarterback that can accurately get the ball to those receivers. They don't even have a point guard type of quarterback. A guy that's not really a flashy guy, but he just delivers it. They don't have that.
I mean, to have a point guard quarterback, you got to have elite wide receivers, I think, or at least good wide receivers. I don't know that Auburn has good wide receivers. Auburn's definitely going to have a shot. I think this is going to be a close game for most of the game because Jordan-Hare Stadium, the emotions of this game, Lane Kiffin just did a great job of pissing every Auburn fan off last November. So Auburn fans at least have had this game circled on the calendar for almost a year. So it's going to be a great environment. It's going to give Auburn a shot. The home crowd's going to lift Auburn up, but the lack of depth and the inability to throw the ball, I think is going to hurt Auburn in this one.
I think so too. Auburn is a very opportunistic defense. If Ole Miss doesn't make those mistakes, that's where it could, to me, get out of hand. You go back to the Georgia game, that game was close because Auburn had the recipe for an upset in that first half. That being said, I think this game's going to be close for 3 quarters. And then I think Ole Miss is going to start to wear on the depth. That's a problem at Auburn. It's not something you can fix in season. And it's going to be another one of those losses where, unfortunately, I think a lot of Auburn fans are going to be thinking, man, what if we had this or what if we had that? Maybe we could win at the end of the game. I don't think Auburn gets blown out. I will say this. If they do, I'm not questioning Hugh Freeze as a coach. I am questioning how ready and prepared this team is week in and week out if they were to get blown out.
I think it's pretty obvious that there will be major changes to the offensive coaching staff after the season. I think that's been made very clear. You kind of read between the lines of what Hugh Freeze has said this season in his press conferences. Hasn't called anybody by name, but he's frustrated and not happy with the way the first half of the season's gone.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a big reason why he's had to enter in himself into that position. So we got one more game on the docket, taking a step outside the SEC and heading up Tobacco Road. Duke, Florida State. It's going to be a fun one. This is going to be a really, really fun game. Now, I do want to say this, and Dr. Bob is going to come in here and get onto you, Ralph. He's going to give you a slap on the wrist. Because Mike Elko said it's not completely out of the equation that Riley Leonard plays in this football game. Here's the exact quote from Elko in his press conference. He said, look, whether he ultimately gets there or not, we'll see. We're going to be smart with him. He is our quarterback. I've said this to everybody. We will not put him in a position to put the ankle at risk, but I do think that there's a chance we're able to get him back healthy on Saturday and able to be playing at the level he's capable of playing. That being said, I'll start this one off. They got backup quarterback.
Hold on. We're not going to Tobacco Road. We're going to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go to Tobacco Road because I wanted to go pick up Dr. Bob before we went down to Tallahassee. So
Fair.
that's
Smart.
Tallahassee.
That's a smart choice.
We got to take the intern with us. Leonard was unable to go against NC State this past weekend, and they relied on Henry Bellin, but Henry Bellin only threw 12 passes. Where this game has to be won for Duke, if Ryan Leonard's not in the picture, and even if he is, to pull off this upset, Jordan Waters and Jaquez Moore have to carry the game. And if Bellin's still the quarterback, now you got to have a game manager. If Leonard is the quarterback, then you bring that dynamic playmaking ability back. I think Duke's going to have to take advantage of some opportunities that might present themselves. Does Jordan Travis have a slow game? Can Duke's defense, put him in a situation where, I don't want to say hurt Jordan Travis, guys, but he has taken some licks the past couple of weeks, going all the way back to that Boston College game when he got hurt and had to leave as well. So that being said, where do you guys sit with this? Can Duke do it? I think there's a world where Duke could win this football game. Will they? Will you talk to it?
I think if they have Riley Leonard, they have a really, really good shot. Without him, I don't know that they can keep up with Florida State offensively. And you're going to Doak Campbell Stadium at night, which, man, you talk about home crowds and home field advantage. Doak Campbell's a really good one, especially when Florida State's good like they are this year. I think Florida State offensively is just way too explosive. I don't know that Duke has the athletes, especially on the outside, to really stop Keon Coleman. I think that's your best shot of beating Florida State is shutting him down completely. And, he's too good of a player, and I don't know that Duke has the athletes to shut him down. I mean, you got to have like a top 10 pick at cornerback to shut that guy down. He's that good. But this is going to be a really close game. I think defense always travels. So I think Duke's going to really bring it. I think they have the ability to come out and just punch Florida State right in the mouth early on defense, get really physical. I think that's what they got to do and try to throw Florida State off their game. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They're a 2-touchdown underdog for a reason.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Bob's sentiment here too. Ralph, you want to pull up that latest comment? Because if Leonard isn't full go, and it sounds like Elko's kind of trending towards this, you're not going to put him out there on that ankle. I mean, this is a guy that's a really, really good football player, good quarterback, and you still have a lot to potentially play for as well. It'd be few weeks since an injury, and then that would turn into a must-win game. I do agree with that. Talked about those running backs. This is also something too, guys. I think that the coaching factor is going to play a lot into this game. I think Mike Norvell is a really, really good football coach, but it's also obvious that Florida State is ranked, in the top 4 of, talent across the board in the ACC. They've that 24/7 talent composite rating. Duke is 12th. So Mike Elko is getting a lot out of this Duke team that, what do they say? You're like squeezing literally every single ounce of talent that you can get out of this group. He's doing that. He's doing that, and I think you got to give him credit for that. So I think it's a close game. That opening line, I think it's set at 16.5 when it opened up, and I think it's moved down a little bit.
Yeah, ESPN has it at 14.5.
So it's moved in a little bit. I would take that. Like, I would take Duke plus 14.5. If Ryan Leonard plays, then I think they can do that. I'd love to see Duke win this football game. I'm a Duke. Let's just say I'm a Duke fan. Like, I need to go get a helmet. I love what Mike Elko's building there. I think that it is unbelievable. Dr. Bob, throw his comment up there. The player development. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's getting out of these guys. So I think Florida State wins this game, man. But I think that Duke plays a tough brand of football, and I think Mike Elko continues to put a scare into those, really, really good programs and those programs with all the talent and all the hype. Ralph, your thoughts as we kind of close this portion of the show out?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the year, I had actually had Duke as my team for the ACC, my sleeper team, and they have definitely blown that out of proportion of what I thought they actually would be. So this, and I think Dr. Bobby said that this defense does not give up points. They really don't. This defense is only giving up 24. I think it's the most points they've given up all year, and that was an overtime win against Clemson. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. The loss to Notre Dame, 21 points is the most points they give up all year. This defense is really good. If you're going to win this game, you're going to have to shut down Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman, Make them be one-dimensional running the ball. And they still have a great running back. They're getting Johnny Wilson back too this week. That's a huge thing for Florida State because Keon Coleman won't be the number one guy they didn't go to. Now they have Johnny Wilson, who's just as good. I wouldn't say just as good. He's a deep ball threat no matter what. And they're still they have a very good running back with Benson. But if you make them one-dimensional running the ball, you can have a chance to be in this game late in the game and just somehow just keep it close enough to the fourth quarter where you have a chance to win this game, honestly.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, look, who knows? I think this would be a great upset. And also, man, it positioned Duke nicely in that potential ACC title race, which who wouldn't want to see Duke and North Carolina face off week 14 or whatever it is, and then turn around and play right again in Charlotte. Dr. Bob, give me a ticket and I'll come. Let's just say that. If Duke's in the ACC title game, I'd be very interested to see that. We're going to come right back. When we do, we're going to take a look at some of the games to watch that we're excited. We didn't preview them, but each guy's going to give their take on one game they're keeping an eye on this weekend. Week 8. It's a big one. We'll catch you here in just about 30 seconds or so on the Crowded Booth.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
Back here in the Crowded Booth, make sure to use code Bryce Koon for 10% off your order of $10 or more. Just got a nice shipment. Fantastic stuff. Also, if you build up enough points in that system, which you can, you get this amazing robe that once I get this in the mail, I will wear it live on the show. It's amazing. It is awesome. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. Let's rock and roll here. Who wants to go first?
Well, we'll go first.
Well, you go first. Your game that you're going to be keeping tabs on. Now, time out before we reveal it.
I'm not revealing it yet.
Hand up. Because I blasted Will on this show a week ago when he took
You did.
Texas State ULM. And in the depths of the night last night, while Will and I were grinding away at Rocket League, we turned on the last 5 minutes of that game and rewatched it.
Dude, no, start the last 9 minutes.
Go
watch the last 9 minutes of that game.
It was like 20-9. It was stupid. Like it was just stupid. That being said, so Will had a game to watch that people watched on ESPN Plus, and it was great. Fantastic. So Will, props to you. Hand up. Like I was wrong. I'm ready to hear what you have to say for this week. Take it away.
I'm going UCF hits the road. They're going to play Oklahoma. It's been a rough 3 weeks for Gus Malzahn and UCF. They've lost twice on the road at Kansas State and Kansas. Just really kind of blown out in both of those games, and then blew I believe it was a 3-touchdown lead at home in the fourth quarter to Baylor. So they've struggled to finish games. They've been out without John Rice Plumlee for a couple of weeks, but he's back in this game, which is really the only chance they've got. If they didn't have Plumlee, this wouldn't even be a game. It may not be a game anyway. Vegas has Oklahoma as a 19-point favorite. Oklahoma, last time we saw them 2 weeks ago, they had the big upset win over Texas.
Yeah.
Will there be a hangover? That's the question. I know they had a week off, but is there going to be a hangover for Oklahoma after the Red River shootout? UCF comes in, they get their quarterback back. I think this is a good spot for UCF to keep it close against Oklahoma. Don't think they win, but I'll be interested to see, can UCF in this 3-game losing streak, how does Oklahoma come back after getting that big win against Texas?
There you go, Will, right there. Dr. Bob is a Tulane guy. UCF struggles couldn't have to do a better team.
Okay. I am probably the biggest Gus Malzahn lover that I've ever come across. I love Gus Malzahn. Wish he was still coaching at Auburn. I think Auburn would be in a much better position had they not fired him. But that's Dr. Bob's opinion. He's a doctor. I should probably listen to him.
Well, and let's just set the record straight. Your love for him is strictly platonic, not physical. So that's just what we had to get out there. That's just what we had. That's just what we had to get out of the way.
Miss me with that, dude.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. Here we go.
You're done.
Ralph, your game. What game are you excited to have on the docket and you maybe have on the computer tonight? Or not tonight. I don't know. Maybe it's a Wednesday night game. Maybe it's Sam Houston tonight.
No, it's not Sam Houston. I am going with the old Fighting Neil Browns hosting the
Yeah,
Oklahoma
Ralph
State.
stole mine. So
No, it didn't. Get in here earlier next time, okay? Get
listen,
over
some
it.
people have things to do.
Cry about it. Look, I'm going with West Virginia here. I like Neil Brown. He was a he started to turn around for Troy when I was in college there. What he's done at West Virginia has not been up to par what they wanted him to do, but this year has really started to take over. He is actually starting to win games. They're winning the games they should be winning. Back to back. They're well.
Did you forget what happened last week?
Well, yeah, that's a fluke Hail Mary. Okay,
That was
get over
wild.
it. Yeah, that's just that. See, things like that shouldn't be happening. But Wednesday against TCU, Texas Tech, last 2 weeks before that were really good. West Virginia is starting to actually play some really good football right now. And Oklahoma State now, beginning of the year, they played South Alabama at home and got boat raced. And I thought Oklahoma State was done for the rest of the year. But the last 2 weeks, they've also played some of the best football. We've beaten Kansas and Kansas State. That Kansas State game was a very good one if you missed it on a Friday night in good old Boone Pickens Stadium, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, I was about to say, watch it there. Watch it. Don't be saying any words you don't need to.
Look,
Anyways,
my one thing I want to say here is if West Virginia wants to win this game, they've got to get CJ Donaldson going. That is a sophomore running back. If you don't know how big he is, he's 6'2", 238 as a running back. He's good.
He's a good player.
And last year we watched him as a freshman. I got to watch him in that the backyard brawl when he actually got to play his first time. He was trucking everybody who got in his way. If they get him going in this game, this could be a very, very hard fought game. I think West Virginia pulls it off. It's at home. The Mountaineer fans they're wild there. They are wild there, and I like this. I like this game for them. I believe they're a 3.5 point favorite. Yes, they are a 3.5 point favorite at home. I'm not going to take that spread, but I will say this: I like West Virginia at home.
I almost took my best bet, Oklahoma State plus 3.5. I almost did, but I didn't.
Hey, look, Ralph's love for Neil Brown is almost identical to my love for Gus Malzahn.
Platonic?
No,
not.
Yeah, I
well,
can't
who knows? Who knows what happens down there in Lower Alabama? Let's keep rolling.
Lower?
Yeah, it's because it's lower than Columbus. It's lower than Columbus. There you go. Let's move on to my game. Before we do,
did you just change
get a comment?
Did you change your game to watch?
I don't think I did. No, this is fine. This is mine.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want you to pull it up yet. I do want to shout out one of the comments because this is great. Mr. Singh, ranked Air Force versus Navy. Started the battle.
Air Force is going to destroy them.
All right, clip it. Clip it. We'll see, dude. These guys play for pride. They play for pride.
We're not American enough on this show.
First off, we know that he hates the military because his team just beat up on the Army last week, so we don't need to talk about it. So that's what that is.
Hey, it's
no
okay.
platonic relationship with the military.
Look, I did see a flag today that said "Go Air Force, beat Navy" today while I was delivering packages. So.
I'm pumped about it, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm pumped to watch that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going back to the best conference in the country, and I'm going to roll with an SEC matchup. This is going to be interesting. The casuals are not going to like this one. Mississippi State and Arkansas. Now, you ask why. You have an Arkansas team. Guys, have you seen Arkansas's 2023 schedule? Like, the SEC shafted them on this. I mean, it's brutal in the sense of this team hasn't played at home since September 16th. Because they played the game against A&M and neutral site, which is not really a neutral site. You know, A&M is going to dominate that in attendance wise. I mean, but it's you don't get to sleep in your own bed for a month before playing a football game. It's ridiculous.
Well, nobody does because they all stay out of town.
Yeah, stay in hotels, man.
Okay, well, you don't get to stay in your own confines of your own city. I mean,
they go out of town.
Oh. Jesus, I'd want to go out of town too if I lived in Starkville, Mississippi. That being said, this game is going to be really, really interesting in the fact that I think a lot of people around the SEC are wondering if Sam Pittman's going to have a job at the end of this season. I like Sam Pittman. I think that he is a guy that's really, really easy to root for, in what he's been able to do. But in year 4, they've lost so many close games. And I think it's also safe to say we talk about portal misses, addition misses. It's crazy because this team has good talent. they are terrible on the offensive line. And that's not something I thought a lot of us would say about a Sam Pittman coach team. So that being said, can Arkansas can they right the ship? And then a Mississippi State team that they're bad. Like their defense is horrible. The offense funny enough, the offense after that LSU game, they went on the road to South Carolina. Will Rogers slung it around and they started to gain some momentum. That being said, I just don't know who's going to win this game. Personally, I want Arkansas to win this game because I think Mississippi State has a long way to go in their transition of what they're trying to do. I really don't want Sam Pittman to lose his job. I just think he's a really, really good coach, and I think he's a good guy, and I just think they just badly missed here in year 4. That being said, Arkansas gave Alabama a scare in the second half. They obviously played a full 4 quarters against LSU, but out of the 5-game losing streak, they have lost 4 by 1 score or less. I'm going Arkansas on this one. I think it's going to be just a great game to watch and one of that noon SEC kickoff that's going to be a ton of fun. So let's get to Dr. Bob's comment, though, real quick about Lower Alabama. Anything south of Montgomery is Lower Alabama. I've driven that stretch of 65 more than I care for. Lower Alabama is the real LA. Once you get south of Montgomery on 65, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's the Conecuh sausage place, and that's about it until you get to Mobile.
Look, I'm telling you,
and
right
there's
now,
a Zaxby's somewhere.
About right here with Montgomery, so it's not lower than Montgomery. So
but see, a large portion of our fan base considers anything south of Atlanta South Georgia. So we're, that's what they do anyways. So it's okay. We're taking a quick break. Coming back with best bets. We all brutally missed last week, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it when we come back here on the Crowded Booth. Hey everyone, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milt decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall. Back here at the Crowded Booth, shout out Cajun Cousins, fantastic brand. Guys, we missed badly on our best bets last week. It was a tough day at the bank, and unfortunately, Ralph couldn't snap the losing streak. Will couldn't continue his winning streak, and we just enter another week where we all kind of it's a wash. Week 7 was a wash for us. So who's going to end up in the end? I also want the comment section to let me know. Ralph says Maryland made the list, no doubt about it. Whoever finishes in last place has to do some type of punishment with an overall record.
When was why are we doing the mid-season?
No, but you're fine. I'm like 3-3. I think Will is 4-2, and you're 3-3. So we're all kind of in the mix. You just went on a bad run over the last 3 weeks, and I was really bad, then was really good, and then you were good, really bad. So, and then Will's just been really good, I guess you could say. That being said, what should the punishment be? Ralph, give us yours. What's your best bet of the week? What you're rolling with?
Well, I'm trying to bounce back here. I'm going.
This is an interesting one, by the way, man.
I thought about this one.
It's a good one.
I like this one. I think Missouri at home at a 3:30 kickoff against South Carolina. This is a good one. I think Missouri's played very good all year. They looked very good last week against Kentucky. I think that South Carolina's loss to Florida was a bad one. I think you should have won that game. Can they bounce?
You're not the only one.
No, I'm not the only one. Can you bounce back from that bad performance against Florida? I don't know. It's a hard. You're going to Como, man. Como, you have to fly into the middle of nowhere, then drive, however long to get there. So, look, I think Brady Cook, Cody Schrader are going to light up the scoreboard here. I think that Missouri puts on a show at home in front of the fans in Como and win this game big. I think the 7 is a solid. I'm thankful for it's 7 because if it was anything more than 7, I probably wouldn't touch it. So you're muted, Bryce. Great job.
Yeah, there we go. I don't mind it. Will, you roll with it. What you going with here? What's your best bet of the week?
Going up to the Big Ten, I'm going Rutgers -5 on the road at Indiana.
I love it. I love this one, actually.
This is, Rutgers.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. Not to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you. I would never watch this game in any capacity, but I would watch it if I was betting.
probably
Did you
won't
see how
watch it.
Rutgers won last week?
Yeah, Michigan
No, I
State gave
didn't.
that game away. They had a
State's given a lot of
touchdown.
things away recently.
They had a 3 touchdown comeback in the fourth quarter. This one's really Indiana is terrible. They are awful. Defensively, they give up 374 yards per game.
Yeah.
Total yards, 217 through the air. Looking at their last 5 games, their only wins are Indiana State and Akron, and they went to 4 overtimes with Akron. Indiana's really, really bad. Rutgers, they're a solid team. They run the ball well. I like their quarterback, Gavin Winsett. I like their running back, Kyle Monengai. A couple experienced guys. They played pretty well. I love Greg Schiano's mentality. He's really, really turned this program around for the second time. And I think 5, I think they're being very generous to Indiana. And I hate to do this because the Auburn legend, Sean Shivers, playing his final year of college football at Indiana. And what is that?
Is that the guy that ran the guy over against Auburn?
Xavier
Alabama?
McKinney? Yes, Sean Shivers, Auburn
He's also
legend.
won in his first game at Indiana, got his bell rung by somebody. So
He did. Rutgers -5. I think. I don't know. Indiana's terrible.
Dr. Bob says Rutgers versus Indiana. Will must be a secret member of the sickos committed with these pigs really scraping the barrel.
Listen, the board this week.
oh,
I did
didn't
not
bring it
love
up.
the board this week.
Yeah.
These spreads, I didn't like a lot of them.
Real quick, before we share ours, I do want to get this Excel spreadsheet that my man had over here. Dr. Bob just killing it once again with the content we're rolling here. You
Update
see
it.
right there. This is last week. This is updated. This is updated. This is as of week 7. So as you can see currently, I'm sitting. We're throwing out week 0 for these
Look at
purposes
the red
you
right
guys
there.
because you guys didn't pick a
Ugh.
week 0. So I
Yeah,
am
it didn't count.
4-3. Ralph is 3-4, and Will is 4-2-1. So, I mean, look, guys, it's a
also-
really big
also,
one here.
I got a gripe with Tom Herman. He was a 3-point underdog again last week and blew out. I think it was South Florida. Beat him by like 3 touchdowns. So my
That's
stat
great for Bryce's bet coming.
my stat let me down last week, 2 weeks ago, and then it hit last week. So
Yeah, I took Louisville -7.5, and they just laid an egg against Pitt, which that just made me mad, just very mad. So there's our standings through 7 weeks. Let's roll with mine and let's get out of here. I'm going back down to South Florida. I'm going back down to Tampa and USF -2. This game's at UConn. UConn's pitiful. They're awful. And I think USF should win this game by more than 2 points, strictly based off the fact that I looked at this about 10 minutes before the show started and picked it. Don't know anything. What's USF's coach name? Alex Golish? What's his name? Will?
Yeah. Alec Golish, I think.
Alec Golish. Whoever he does. If you don't beat by
Came from
UConn,
Tennessee.
if you don't beat UConn by more than 2 points, you don't need to be head coach. So that's my reasoning of what we're going with this one. That's my best bet of the week. USF -2 versus UConn. Let's go one more comment here. I'd like to wager on games I'd actually watch, not Rutgers and the Fighting Bobby Knights. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. We're scraping the
Hey,
bottom
if
of the
Bobby
barrel
Knight
here.
was on the field for Indiana, they would not lose a game. He would
Jeez.
be the best coach in the Big Ten.
Mr. Singh just not happy with my pick. But hey, we appreciate you. Best bets, games to watch, and our previews. You can find all of this over at the Crowded Booth YouTube channel. It's a great every single Wednesday night. We take a look at some of the games. Ralph Leary. My name is Bryce Koon. He is Will Manis. Thanks so much for tuning in. And man, we're going to get rocking and rolling once again next Monday night, taking a look at the recap of some of these games. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the videos as well. It just helps us completely free of charge for you and all that you need to do. We'll catch you next time here on the Crowded Booth. See you next time.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth. on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.